and welcome back to the English shooting live stream. I will, of course, be your host, Callum, as always. Apologies for last week. It was a bit of a mental week, and it's not exactly slowing up at work, which is, of course, Magload. I've got to be representing tonight because we will be giving you a little bit of a sneak peek of the Magload Black Friday. There's a load of people that have just gone, shit, I've ordered a load of Magload stuff. Yes, you should have waited. There are going to be some pretty hefty discounts, as we always like to do on Black Friday, but you've got to stay tuned for a bit more information on that. And to be honest, the reason I'm wearing this cap is because after exchanging it for my English shooting one during the Target shooting show, it's gone walkies, and this is the only one that I had to hand. So, but it will do. It's still black. It's got white logo on it. It's sort of the same if you squint. But yeah, I hope you all are doing well. I hope you've had a good couple of weeks, and again, apologies for last week. But if you're a regular, thank you for coming back. And if you're new, this is an interactive stream, so if you want to get involved, you want to ask questions, there is a chat box. Ask any questions or bring up any topics you want, and also to the regulars, but you know what to do. And don't forget to like and subscribe. Incredibly important. It helps grow the channel, it helps reach new people, and English shooting is all about promoting the sport that we love of shooting, reaching new people, and hopefully growing the numbers in this sport. Something that the North Yorkshire Firearms Licensing Department seems to be doing everything they can not to do. So they're trying to, well, they're not even trying, they have stopped new applications. And the post that I put out on Facebook about this, about the live stream, there's already a lot of speculation, conspiracy theories, and I think a lot of level-headed people saying, well, just calm down, there could be a logical explanation for this. Once again, the logical explanation is that the Firearms Licensing Department are showing that they're not fit for purpose. They're not being correctly managed. Look at Plymouth. Then they're not being efficiently managed. Look at North Yorkshire. And we are, for other reasons aside from this, seeing once again the guidance being misinterpreted and forces being overzealous with the reissue, revocation, or even initial issue of a firearm and shotgun certificate. So what am I talking about? What's the big topic here? Well, North Yorkshire have stated that they have put a pause on all new applications. This is on their own website, where they've released this statement. Basically a load of gumph of, oh, we're very busy and there's loads of new stuff going on and we've got to get used to it. And oh yeah, unfortunately, due to the change of renewal process, I don't know what that change is. It's pretty much exactly the fucking same, really. No new grant applications are being processed at this time. Understand that this may cause some frustration and disappointment for those who have already submitted an application. However, we want to let those individuals know we are working through these as quickly as we can, and you should hear from us no later than January 2022. Yeah, so you know, only like 3 months that you've got to wait, really. Paul at work we call Paulio. Paolo, I'm crap with names. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. I might be able to butcher your name, but really do appreciate it. And here's for a beer or two. Keep up the amazing work. Again, very much appreciated. And as by magic, your donation has appeared a beer. Although they've skimped on this one because there's some missing from it. Anyway, but yeah, thanks for supporting the channel. Back onto this. This is, it's just utter excuses. There's nothing really more to say about it. Like complete mismanagement. Somebody that's obviously not able to allocate and delegate resources effectively, because this should have come as no surprise. We've seen many different forces rolling out these new changes for the past couple of years, because there's this document, and we've made videos on this, we've talked about this many times before. This is what has changed. It is the new statutory guidance for chief officers of police. It goes into suitability checks, assessing suitability and continuous assessment. Within this, it talks about reviewing people's social media. It talks about getting your GP to sign off of it, and a load of new criteria in terms of your involvement in extremism, previous crime, your known associations. Right, this document is dated, you can't see it because it's in the URL. This document is dated July 19, right? So like over 2 years ago, this document was released, right? So they've had 2 years to implement any changes required, 2 years to get their shit together, basically, and be prepared for the new checks. And they're sort of, oh, this is all a surprise. Oh, we didn't know this was coming. Like, how much more notice do you need? I mean, there's Elon Musk out there launching a new rocket every 2 months, and firearms licensing can't get prepared for guidance that they've known about for 2 years. Like, it's possible. It really is possible. You can do it, honestly. And just this wet blanket of a statement from them, it just smells of an excuse, because why are they motivated to give out certificates? I'm not saying every single firearms licensing is like this. I'm not even saying that North Yorkshire is like this, but when you see it so many times, there's no smoke without fire. The general consensus seems to be that firearms licensing do everything they can not to give out the license or give out the certificates. That's very different to being cautious. That's very different to looking very closely at individuals and assessing their suitability. It just seems excuse after excuse after excuse. Combine this with the recent survey from from the police around the Plymouth shootings and the state of licensing, where they asked the general public, because of course you're going to get a sensible answer if you ask the general non-shooting public what they think of firearms licensing and the certification process and application process. Again, 24,000 people, 750,000 license holders in the UK, only 24,000 people responded to that. Shame on you, and if you didn't, you're part of the reason that this sport is going to end up going into the ground. We're given an opportunity to voice things, to make a change, and you can't be asked to do a 5-minute survey. But we've already had that episode. So with this survey and the general narrative of resources and potentially charging even more for licensing and the application process, and potentially passing on the full cost of the application process to the applicant, and forces are now starting to shut shop. It's like, when I start to get a gut feeling about things, it doesn't usually end well. Not in that way, but it just feels that they're going down this slope. They are laying the paving to lead us down this avenue where it won't be about banning all of the guns. It won't be about, removing them like the Mars and the lever release without any justification or any factual basis. It will just be about making it so difficult to be able to get your certificate, because either the hoops you have to jump through, and again, I'm not opposed in the UK to having these barriers, to having these checks and balances, but this new guidance is very, very scary. Any arrest or any investigation, regardless of the outcome, can be used against you in your future application. That means you can go to court and be found not guilty, and they can still use that as a reason for you not to have a certificate. And it's just paving the way that it's going to be almost instantaneous for you to lose your certificate. It's going to take months, if not years, for you to obtain your certificates, which is going to put people off. It is going to reduce numbers. There was a recent letter sent out, I believe it was, well, not a recent letter to all of them. I was made aware by a Hampshire certificate holder that their renewal is due, and they got a very kind reminder letter that their renewal was due, but it didn't really talk about the process of renewing it. It was very much, oh yes, your certificates are due for renewal. If you would like to surrender your certificates, please click this link, please follow this URL, please do this. If you would like to surrender your guns, this is the way that you can do it. It's not about helping you maintain the certificate, which is what the firearms licensing department should be. this is a service that, whilst we may not pay the full cost of, we do pay for. So it's a paid for service. It should be about, I want a certificate, here's the money, I pass all the checks, you give me what I want. Not, we might give you this certificate, and actually we'd prefer you didn't. We'd prefer you surrendered that certificate, surrendered the guns, because, you know, who needs those? The more serious consequence of something like, you know, North Yorkshire shutting down the application process is that this isn't just a hobby for people, right? It's a full-blown, full-time career for myself, for many of my friends that I know within the industry, obviously. Farmers, pest controllers. There are people that do genuinely rely on certificates to go out there and make a living, or not having those certificates severely impacts their ability or their ability to maximize their earnings, which affects quality of life. It adds additional stress. It starts to you know, play with your mental health. But then again, maybe that's what they want, because if you start getting stressed, if you start having to go on antidepressants, and you start getting all wound up, and maybe you get a bit angry and you write a nasty letter, or you phone up your firearms licensing and you give them a real ear bashing, well, then they start to build what they want, which is, you know, you're an unsuitable person. So it's really quite damaging, not just to the sport, but also to people that rely on these guns you know, for their profession. And Basque has actually jumped on this, and whilst they can always do better, can't we all? Basque are picking things like this up very, very quickly, and are going very hard on it. They certainly don't mince their words. People are after my own heart, and they have called it a clear breach of their statutory duty. Again, this isn't. They're not doing us the favour here, right? That's what we've got to remember. Is it? You know, as the law is written, if somebody can pass all of the checks, it is their duty to issue that certificate. Whether they want it for sport, whether they want it for profession, that is their job. That is their duty to do it, just like it's the duty of the GPs to sign off on these certificates. And they, you know, some of them choose to either charge ridiculous amounts for that or object altogether. But they're getting away with it. And to draw a similar comparison, completely different story, completely different set of circumstances, but we have already seen fallout from the Plymouth shooting. We've already seen licensing departments get a lot stricter. This does coincide with the new guidance, which is a lot stricter. And don't believe the bullshit that this new guidance was magically drafted up in the wake of the Plymouth shooting as some knight in shining armour to come running in, fixing everything. As we've already described, or as I've already shown, this was drafted back in July 2019. It does seem to be a very big coincidence that it was magically there when Priti Patel and other politicians needed it the most. But somebody that has certainly felt the brunt of the change in attitudes to firearms licensing after Plymouth is a man called Andrew Elgar. He had his certificates reissued. I think he had a renewal early August. After the Plymouth shooting, he had armed police turn up in his up to his door. They took away his certificates, they took away his guns, and said, "You need to talk to your firearms licensing department." There was no rhyme or reason, no explanation given. They just came in and took them away. Now, he's managing land. He's obviously, now I don't know specifically if he is a farmer, but certainly relies on the guns for his profession and for his living. So he's had no explanation, no justification for why they've done that, and they're causing him pretty significant distress and difficulties in going about his day-to-day business. You know, so this was end of August. He still hasn't had an answer or any explanation or just any progress. You know, now we're coming to the end of November, and they do touch on a very interesting point within this video, which is who holds them accountable. I can't remember the specific acronym, but he went to one of the, I think his local councils or counties, independent police complaints people. Like, they seem to have a different bloody name up and down the country, but they went to them and said, like, look, the police, I understand they've got to be proactive, they've got to be safe, especially after the wake of a shooting, but they've not even given me a justification. Like, I've had armed police turned up on my door, and they're not even giving me a justification. They're not progressing this. It's been months, and this complaints department basically said, look, we can't interfere with firearms licensing matters. So in terms of actually putting in an official complaint through the official channels, you can't seem to do that against firearms licensing. It seems to make it very much seems that they've positioned themselves in a very untouchable position. You can't make a complaint. If you complain directly at them, well, that's not really going to incentivize them to be able to progress your application. You can't go through the official channels to make a complaint. So he ended up going to his chief police commissioner and managed to have a little bit of movement with that, and that seemed to give a little bit more response, and he's currently waiting up to 20 days for the police commissioner to review it and get back to them. So that can be yet another month. So it's all very smelly at the moment. They're hiding behind this new guidance, which they've known about for 2 years. You've got people that literally, armed police are turning up at their door silly o'clock in the morning or silly o'clock at night, taking away guns without any justification. Again, I don't disagree with, if somebody shows very concerning signs that they're likely to do something horrific with a firearm, I've got no problem with them going in, taking them away, assessing the suitability and assessing the situation. But to do it like that, literally all guns blazing, and to give no justification and no explanation and just pass you on to the firearms licensing department, which seem to be a law to themselves. The kicker is that it's Devon and Cornwall that his licensing force is. So I can't imagine why they would be pretty strict and pretty severe at the moment, taking away licenses. So yes, that's that seems to be the big talking point at the moment. Thanks for everyone that's joined in and tuned in. Don't forget to like, don't forget to subscribe. We do this every single week unless I get really tired or really busy. And yes, there are videos coming out soon. I literally just need to get through this weekend, and I have a bit more time to really sit down and do some videos. Set up the studio a little bit more now, getting in the groove of it again. But yeah, what are you guys saying? Don't worry, Bask will help out. Oh, wait. See, they're very, very vocal. I don't know what that actually achieves, but at least they don't seem to pull their punches with their words. Whether this guy's using them, I don't think he actually is, although Bask did actually appear in that video, and they said, yeah, it's worrying, they shouldn't be doing this. There's also a lot of disparity between, there was an article a while back, I think I've got it here. Is this the right article? Oh, here we go, yeah. So this was posted a while back, where the Sunday Express reported at the weekend that shotguns are being seized by forces in response to the recent shootings, and that thousands of shotguns are being confiscated as police forces react to Britain's worst mass shooting in a decade. I mean, that sort of says it all, worst mass shooting in a decade, not in a month, not in a year, in a decade. Let's put things in perspective there. So apparently thousands are being confiscated. Bask have commented and said we haven't actually seen, they've seen an increase, but they haven't seen anything dramatic or anything that's potentially worrying them, that the police are overreacting. And yeah, things just don't seem to be making sense at the moment, and I'm really dubious to see what is going to come off of the back of this survey, because as we know, the general support was for increasing licensing fees. So is that going to be another barrier? Is getting a shotgun or firearm certificate in the UK going to cost £500 now. We'll have to wait and see. They came in and took them, and people are okay with that. They don't see how absolutely disgusting that is. Unfortunately, that is the way it is in the UK. If the police at any point believe that you are unfit to possess firearms, they have every power to come in and seize them before any guilt has been proven. It's very much a preventative, better safe than sorry mentality that they have, and we talked about this recently in a video about the voluntarily surrendering them. Now, something that I just want to add for anybody that commented about this in the video, a lot of people said, why would you voluntarily surrender your firearms? Like, you'd sell them, surely. What I'm talking about is in that video specifically is in the situation where the police ask you to voluntarily surrender them, and should or shouldn't you do it? Now, as a law-abiding member of the public, as somebody that wants to always work with the police and aid in anything that they want to do and be a model citizen, as it were, refusing to cooperate, that's not going to look good, is it? You know, you want to be seen to be cooperative. But what is happening more and more is people fall into these black holes. If a voluntary surrender happens, so the police say, look, we've got a few concerns, we don't want to go through the full revocation process, but we're going to ask you to voluntarily surrender your certificates for the purpose of review. That's going to give us a bit of time to sort of check things out, and if everything checks out, we will give it back to you, and you know, no harm, no foul. But there's actually no time requirement for them to do that, as in the same way as voluntarily agreeing to an interview for whatever matters. If you're not under arrest or you haven't been arrested, then you're not on bail. There's actually no set time for the police to conclude any investigation, and they can leave it open-ended. And a lot of this is happening with the voluntary surrendering. Now, I've been speaking to a number of solicitors and firearms firearm legal specialists, and they say that they're actually getting to the point where they're considering advising their clients to not cooperate with the police, because they actually fall down to the bottom. If you are helpful and cooperative, well, you're not seen as a risk. There's no urgency for the police, so they just sort of let you fall to the bottom of the pile, and they deal with the people that are making a bit more of a pain for themselves. So you seem to almost get penalised for, say, voluntarily surrendering, for cooperating with it. And, you know, for firearm specialist solicitors to be saying, you know, I'm very close to advising my clients not to cooperate, that's you know, that's pretty severe. You know, that really, I think, does show the state of things and the potential mistrust that is building between certificate holders and licensing departments and their approach. You know, it's like we're all here to help, we're all here to work with you, but if you're going to penalise for it, like why should we? Jack, people are waiting over a year in some cases for FAC and SGC applications. Yorkshire may be the only ones to do it officially, but it's happening all over. A very good point. You know, just because other forces haven't come out and said that they're not processing, you know, what's to say that they, you know, behind the scenes they're not? They are unarming. They are unarming people. Open season for crime. High burglars with machetes and guns. Take what you want. Like I can see that from, let's say, an American stance, but in the UK, let's forget that around 1% of the population own firearms. So, you know, there's no real deterrent there in the first place. If the police came out tomorrow and said, you know, all certificates have been revoked, there's now no lawful ownership of firearms, in terms of any potential deterrent that may be to criminals, well, there's no deterrent to them already, because it's only 1%. So, you know, 1 out of 100 houses, they might have a firearm or shotgun there. You know, they're going to take those odds, aren't they? So, and let's not forget that we can't own firearms within England, Scotland and Wales for the purpose of self-defense. So you know, the police certainly don't see that argument as a valid one. In Northern Ireland, of course, it potentially would hold weight, because they are allowed to have firearms for the purpose of self-defense, or allowed to have handguns for the purpose of self-defense. And you know, you could use that argument if they take them away, and people know that they've had those firearms taken away. Well, why do they have them in the first place? Because there's a significant threat against them. It does potentially open the door, say, in Northern Ireland. But within England, Scotland and Wales, unfortunately, whilst I'm sure we'd all love to have that discussion, it's not currently the state of play here. Mr. E30, evening to you as well. Thanks for joining as always. Since the 1st of November, all grant and renewal applications must be accompanied by a GP letter addressing relevant conditions/concerns sourced by the applicant and submitted at the time of application. That is the general crux of one of the biggest changes. I don't know why that would be affecting the firearms licensing departments being able to process them. It's just a sheet of paper that the applicant supplies to them. They don't have to do any running about. As we have said, well, as I've said previously, it's all the additional checks that they are advised to do. And we've talked about this as well with social media, about this specific guidance as well, is do the police have the resource to sit there and go through somebody's social media? A lot of forces are already doing it. I mean, Hampshire Firearms Licensing seem to have a whole team dedicated to this channel and my own social media. So if they can put that much resource on one person, I'm sure other firearms licensing departments can, you know, do a little bit of light checking. But this is the issue with having this sort of guidance, which is actually quite ambiguous. It doesn't say to what degree they should check social media, right? So, you know, in the wake of a shooting and people wanting to be safe than sorry, it's like, well, you know, we should do the maximum. Well, what are they going to do? Scroll through 10 years worth of somebody's Facebook post, look for their Twitter page, look to see if they have a Reddit account, Instagram, MySpace. If they're on MySpace still, they should just not have a license anyway. But like, where do they look for it, and how deeply do they look? Right? Something in like useful guidance would have been something like looking back over the previous 3 months. Even that's going to be a pretty tall order, but give some sort of definition. So give some sort of goal, give some sort of guidelines. Like, you know, that's what the fucking guidance is meant to be. But the thing is, again, they've known about this for 2 years. If they needed more resource, they need more resource. That, you know, maybe there's other funds that they can divert to actually put into firearms licensing. But a lot of firearms licensing departments have already required GP certificates or GP letters or forms to be present at the application. Hampshire Firearms Licensing and Thames Valley, for one, have been doing that for... How long has my application been in now? Well, since well before last October. So when I put in my application, which is, you know, that's been almost a year now. No, it's been over a year. You know, that you required that. So the forces have already been rolling this out, have already been getting prepared, and that's why I say I think this is once again an individual case of a firearms licensing department being mismanaged. You know something new's coming in, you prepare for it, you get ready for it, you maybe roll it in earlier, so you're not required to do it. So, you know, if shit hits the fan and you can't do it, you go, okay, well, actually, we don't need to do it right now, so let's drop it for a moment, reassess, look at what went wrong and how we can fit it in by the time we need to get it in. Not wait until the last minute to then go, oh shit, yeah, should probably be doing that. Oh, Daniel is swinging the banhammer. Be careful. If he hasn't had his cup of cocoa this time of evening, he can get very banny. MySpace is still a thing. I think so. It's like a lot of indie music people go, oh, it's still the purest form to find music. I thought that was live events, but anyway. Martin, Callum, just wanted to say thanks for your help via video in relation to firearms and everything I needed to know. My FAC arrived 2 months ago. Fantastic to hear. Yeah, congratulations. I hope to be following you very soon, and it's always good to hear that the videos are helping and, you know, helping to get new people into the sport. Perhaps that's why Hampshire don't like me so much. Barry, Basque are worthless when it comes down to real help. I've heard that, unfortunately, from a lot of people. The shotgun comes under a presumption they must find a reasonable reason why you can't own one. A gun license you must provide why you should. Well, just to check, you know, a shotgun certificate, very, very true. It's effectively a right to own a shotgun certificate in the UK. It sort of descends from the Bill of Rights and all that sort of stuff. So it is a right to have a shotgun certificate in the UK. And the police must provide a reason why you are unsuitable. If there is no reason, then you will be issued one. That's why I jokingly say a lot of the time that in a shotgun certificate application interview, you could say, I like guns, I want a shotgun. And that, like, actually, you could just sit there the whole time silent, you know, or just say, you know, find a reason I'm unsuitable. For a firearm certificate, you do need a good reason for possession of a firearm. That can be sport, that can be hunting, pest control, things like that. You did an oopsie with your trigger in the 1522. You mean you played around with it? I've learned that lesson many a time. Like the 1522, apart from all of the beautiful Magload products available on magload.co.uk, Black Friday starting at 11 p.m. tonight. Just leave it. Don't just maybe give the trigger a bit of a polish. Just like as soon as you start dropping aftermarkets in, like the 1522 is not mil spec, and this is what a lot of people, you know, like trip up on, is they go and buy a mil spec trigger, drop it in, and you actually decrease reliability, or you've got to shim it, or you've got to tune it to the gun. It's not as easy as you might think. Philip, your GP surgery won't fill out FAC medical forms, but the Met were happy for me to send them a copy of my medical records. That's very interesting. Was that before or after the 1st of November? Because before the 1st of November, they could do that. They're allowed to use their own discretion in making sure that your medical records are clean. But I think that's actually a lot of liability on their part, because let's not forget that the police are not medical experts. You know, are they trained to be able to look through your medical records and look for the right or wrong markers? I don't think it's a bad thing that GPs and doctors and medical professionals are involved in the assessment of somebody to own a firearm certificate. I think actually they should be probably more involved with driving licenses as well. But they have to do it. You know, there's no point having this whole system that hinges on, well, it's just another barrier. You know, again, it seems perfectly set up and perfectly convenient for the forces, police officers, or even members of firearms licensing that really don't want the public owning guns. Oh yes, we make it mandatory so that the applicant has to go and get a GP certificate, but the GPs aren't going to like that, so they're going to refuse to do it, and then they're fucked. Cloudwater Ale tonight, Callum. Good choice if so. It is. I think this is actually the first one I've had. I think it was in a multi-pack that my partner Holly got a while ago, and this one, I don't know. I do drink beer based on the label a lot, and this one, I don't know. It doesn't give off particularly tasty vibes, but it is very nice. And I have a backup beer just in case this one does evaporate. This is a good old solid. I can highly recommend this one. The Sierra Nevada, California IPA. Always love one of these, and they do another one. Is it the Big Kahuna or the Kahuna? That one's a good solid one option as well. Anyway, this is a shooting show, not a beer review show, or as we used to say at our at our university rifle and pistol club, we're not a shooting club with a drinking problem, we're a drinking club with a shooting problem. How true that was. Anyway, so we get a bit more positive. It's all very easy to get very doom and gloom, especially when own members of this community can't be asked to fill in a 5-minute survey, but you know, I digress. Something very positive, the Target Shooting Show. We had the first sort of large major show in the UK for the past 18 months, or it certainly was the first show that I went to within 18 months. The last one I went to was actually the Great British Shooting Show in February 2020, literally right before the whole pandemic. So there's a lot of faces that I hadn't seen in person for a long time, so it was fantastic to go and catch up with people and see people and just feel like completely normal again. Loads of handshakes, like genuinely missed the handshake. And it was also awesome to see a lot of you guys. You know who you are if you came up to the Magload stand, which is where I was for the entirety of the weekend. I'll get to that in a minute. But yeah, it was just amazing again to see you guys in person. Those that watch these videos every single week, join in the live stream every single week, comment, share, and support the channel. And it's just always good to you know, in some cases put a face to the name and see familiar faces that seem to always find me at the show. So if you did stop by the stand for a chat or a hello or a handshake or whatever, thank you, really appreciate that. I genuinely say, like, I don't bite. Connors I'm not so sure about. Best stay away from Connors. I don't bite. You can always come up and say hi if you see me at a range, in a gun shop, or at a shooting show. But it was incredibly busy for us. I was fully planning on going around and doing my usual show videos. Of course, previous shows, I haven't been on the stand whilst Magload was at the previous two, well, the Practical Shooting Show and the Target Shooting Show, and even the last Northern Shooting Show, Magload had a stand. Connors was manning it with help from other people as well, and I was free to go and do my usual thing. But this time, I literally didn't move from the Magload stand. The only time I managed to have like 2 or 3 pee breaks the entirety of the weekend, and the only stand I managed to get away to, which I'm very glad I did, because there's going to be some new videos, or there will be videos on VR, and we'll talk about that in a second. And yeah, went over to the Blobwork stands, and the only reason I was able to do that is because they were literally next door to the Magload stand. So yeah, I completely failed in my attempts to actually get around the show and have a look. But thankfully, Aryan from Outdoor Technica did manage to go around, so there is, if you want to go and see it, catch it up, and he's very kindly allowed me to use a bit of his footage, so I will be doing some further videos around certain things on the show. But I wanted to sort of touch on some of the highlights, because I think it was like everyone and their mother like was launching something new and interesting, and this is why it was so painful not to be able to go around and get hands on with it. So I'll show you a little bit of Aryan's video. Of course, it's as I said, the channel, if you want to go and see it, is Outdoor Technica, and I'll just do like a quick rundown of the highlights as we see them. So there we go. Just the name again if you missed it. Well, attendance was up, by the way. I think it was up about 50% from the previous year. So it's great to see the show growing and getting more popular. It definitely felt, there we go, straight into it. Definitely felt busier than last time. So no, they're not playing around with a shell of a gun. I will be doing a full video on this because the Oculus actually arrived today at the unit. I should have bought it on the stream, but then I probably would have just switched it on and yeah, just completely ignored you guys. But VR shooting. Now, we've touched on simulators before, and the training aids that they can offer. I think it's the point blank simulator firing range. This for me is on another level. I've been saying to people for a very long time that I think VR could, in a worst case, be the future of the sport. If all guns were to get banned tomorrow, how do we keep up some sort of target sports? Or look at it in a more positive light, what is the best way to attract young blood into this sport? Is through video games, through VR, and you can see that it's been very well developed. You can see the standard controllers there, and there's one I think up around here. It absolutely blew my mind. There is a bit of footage somewhere. No, I can't. I'm locked in. There's a bit of footage. Let's see, where would it be? No, I'm not even going to try it. It's just gonna go wrong. But I did get to have a go on it, and I enjoyed it so much that we ended up buying an Oculus. An Oculus Quest. So there'll be more about that very, very soon. But really love what Blobworks is doing. This was another big one. I can skip to another video of Outdoor Technica, because they did a video, a interview with me on the Magload stand. Very happy with how it all looked. It was very, very colourful. And there's a few snip bits here. So I missed the gun that I actually want to talk about. Who was that flower looking fella? Just giving you a little tease of the Magload show. If you went there and you already saw it, well, there's another look. So yeah, you can go and watch this whole video as well. But I talk a lot about the sneak peeks of what's coming from Magload. So if you want to learn a little bit more about that, then please go and watch this video. Reunited with the EnglishShooting PPQ. I think I show the logo at some point. It's definitely double the value of that gun. I'm just saying. There we go. So Connors has actually picked up one of the new Shield KMRs. So there's a lot of hype about this gun. It's a Seaside Shadow long barrel pistol, and I know all the Americans out there are going to go, what the fucking hell is that? What have you done to that poor gun? This is literally the only way to make it UK legal. So 24 overall inch, 12-inch barrel, long barrel pistol. There is also one from Cotswold Classic Arms that I did get to shoot the one of the two inexistent prototypes, but this is the first one that's actually come to market. They bought in 50, I believe it was, and by the end of the weekend, I think they said that they had sold, I think it was like 47. So very good weekend for Shield, and it seems that this gun is already off to a massive success. But being based on the CZ Shadow, of course, if you shoot abroad and you shoot the 9mm CZs, the full bore CZs, perfect training aid. And I actually talk about this in this video with Aryan, that it's about familiarization. And I shoot a lot of the PPQ 9mm abroad, so shooting the long barrel pistol keeps you familiar with the controls, your grip, your draw, all the muscle memory. So if you're shooting a CZ and you're in the UK, this I think is an absolute must, or even talk to Otto at Cotswold Classic Arms. That again I think is coming very, very soon. But Connors has picked one of these up specifically for development, because if it's going to be a new popular pistol in the UK, a competition pistol at that, then Magload wants to be making bits for it, wants to be adding those upgrade bits to its product line. And also a lot of the components with this gun are completely interchangeable with its full bore bigger brother. So you make parts or upgrade components for the LBP version, you can test them on the LBP version. Of course, you would still need to test them on the 9mm full bore version, but then it's like two birds, one stone, which sort of business-wise makes a lot of sense. What else do we have on the wall there? Oh, we've got the mag-loaded battle arms, the 1522, the gun that started it all. This gun is the reason that the color for magload is yellow, because of all these bits. First things that Connor's printed for guns. We've got the Chopper Rhino with the 1911 or 2011 style grip, and of course the Walther PPQ, with a few sneak peek products coming soon. So yeah, that was a big part or a big draw of the show this year. A lot of people keen to see that and to get hands on with it and potentially even buy one. XPSC were there giving Action Air iPass tasters, so you could actually do some shooting. And in a second, we're going to see another big draw for the show, which was the new T2 rifle. And I have to say, until I actually get my hands on one, I'm not going to be able to say anything about it. But they do look fucking nice. I was a bit dubious of what they were doing. It was almost a little bit like reinventing the wheel. And I think I said that before. A lot of it is mostly AR compatible. All the usual accessories. Oh, a bit more mag load. I've actually got that loader behind me. I'll crack it out. Here we go. The T2 rifle. So this is done by the Tunnel range down in Dorset. I mean, what about that for a colour scheme? This one here, I think it looks completely impractical. Like, I wouldn't take that into a practical match, but I can't deny it looks like a kick-ass gun. And actually, if we go over to their Facebook page, there's some better pictures of it. Again, so one correction I do need to make. I think I said there were various accusations about this rifle, about it being copied, various elements. No, it's been emphatically cleared that this is a from the ground up built British rifle, solely done by the Tunnel. I also thought somebody else was involved in the design and development. It is purely a Tunnel exercise, and there is actually the owner of the Tunnel, Richard. A few more of their stand. Yeah, so what I really like is the straight pull charging lever, which I annoyingly can't find. And if you want to learn more about it, you can go over to t2rifles.co.uk. Still not a huge amount of information on that page, but hopefully they will bring stuff out soon, a bit more stuff. These, like, when I did have a passing glance at these, like the angle, like it's a good looking gun. I can't deny that's a good looking gun. I really want to get my hands on one. I really want to go down to the Tunnel or get in contact with them, put one through its paces and really see how I feel about it. And the whole thing is, this is meant to be modular. It's intended to encourage you to buy different uppers, different calibers, and have it as a sort of a multi-platform rifle. My slight niggle with that in theory is why are you reinventing the wheel? Why not make it fully compatible? You know, have a full British built rifle, but you could put potentially any upper on it. Of course, they want to sell you the upper themselves, and if they do it, that would be the spec that I have. I don't know if you can see it, but that is like fresh milled. There's like no coating on that, and I think it looks good just as is. But yeah, look at that charging handle. It looks, seeing them in person, and seeing the different variations and seeing them in colour, just on the look, I do want one. Not going to lie. Of course, the friends Calibre Innovations were there with various different new guns, and I believe that was the Renegade, which is their new. Is it the orange? No, don't want it full screen. What are you doing? Oh, come here. Yeah, again, another good looking, or is that their 9mm? I don't know. Again, I didn't manage to get to their stand, so I don't actually know what I'm looking at. Looking at the magazine, that very much looks like their 223 or 308 Renegade. Great looking gun there. Hopefully I'll be able to get my hands on one of those at a shoot very soon. What else was going on? Some more of their guns. Cerakoting, they do a lot of Cerakote. Oh, Black Rifle. Again, another product that I wanted to go and see for myself that I didn't get a chance to. Black Rifle have made a ambidextrous charging handle for the 1522, which looked absolutely pucker. I was tempted to even pick one up myself. didn't even get a chance. So that sort of sucked. So I'm literally reliving this with you guys. Oh yes, shall we talk about this? For the keen-eyed amongst you, that does say magload. We have talked about this before, but I did bring a show and tell because I do have it behind. So the cat's out the bag with this one. We were trying to keep it close to the chest. We are very, very close, and this has got posted. Thanks again to Aryan from Outdoor Technica. This has been all over Facebook the previous few days. It was called a Universal 2.2 magazine, and yeah, some very delightful individual started to point out all of the guns it obviously wouldn't be compatible with. Like, yeah, thanks. Yeah, no, it's not going to fit a K22 or Ruger 1022. What it is it's meant to, it's designed to be as universal as possible to fit as many AR-22s on the market as possible without having to make any modifications to the rifle. Primarily, because we all shoot them, the 1522 and battle arms and guns that have been adapted or modified to use 1522 magazines. Two reasons why Magload would be interested in making their own. One, you cannot buy 1522 magazines. They're like hen's teeth at the moment. 50 will come into the country with one dealer and then gone. And also there is it is technically a fatal flaw, but like at the end of the day, these mags, everyone uses them for a reason, right? They are good mags, but they've got fairly thin plastic feed lips, and yes, these are plastic feed lips as well. And a lot of people going, oh, like the Tipman owners are just wanking themselves into a pool of cum in the corner at the moment. But never mind them. They bought the wrong gun anyway. Let's get that out. Don't know if you're going to be able to see that. Come on, focus. So side by side, so you've got the Magload on the left hand of the screen, my right. The feed lips are significantly thicker, which means a lot more meat available, able to take a lot more wear, and should therefore last a lot longer. So we've heard recent stories of people getting like 6 months out of a mag, and with the Magload one, it's going to last a hell of a lot longer. It's going to be, Connors is going to kill me because I always forget because he keeps changing it. I think 32 round standard. That means that you can get the 31 rounds in, which is your 30 plus 1 in the chamber for IPSC, without having to really squeeze in every single round. Comparing, and of course got the Magload plus 6 bases on there, making it a 31 round magazine. Comparing the length, yes, it is a little bit longer, but it's got slightly larger capacity. I think Connors has hinted at the fact that it's going to be more like, if you really do want to squeeze those rounds in, it's going to be more like a 33, 34 round magazine, but it's going to be guaranteed at that, I think, around the 30, 31. And the reason that it's being called a universal mag is because you can fit adapters straight to it. So instead of having to put the adapter in the gun, you can have one mag, 4 guns, and just put adapter on it and run it in a different gun, as reliable as the mag on its own. It will also there will also be a McFadden Lightning adapter for it, so you'll be able to speed load it. What other features? You've got obviously the markers, so you can see how many rounds are in there. And yeah, we've been working on this like non-stop for a very long time now, must be at least a year or two, and we are hoping this side of Christmas, might be sort of making a noose there for ourselves, but the final prototype is just about to reach us. So these aren't going to be, this is actually an SLS prototype, and who said prototyping wasn't expensive? I think each version of these is something around 150, 180 pound a pop for us to have made. So yeah, that's I think we're on our 7th or 8th now. Yes, painful. But it's not going to be SLS printed. It's going to be injection molded. So we're getting them SLS for prototyping reasons. What we're waiting for now is the injection molders are making their changes because it has to be optimized for the injection molding process. Then they will send us the files. We will have that printed. We will go and test that. This mag runs as is at the moment. We actually had it. We attempted to use it in, what was it? It was the Langbraddock. It's the Welsh Mini Rifle Championship, because one of our mags shit the bed. One of 3 magazines that we had between both Connors and I, and we're very tempted to start running this in one of the matches, and we were like, it's not a fully test and proven concept at the moment. This one actually is now. There's been probably about 500 rounds at least put through this, probably even over 1,000. So we know that's all already. We're waiting for the final one from the injection molders. That will be made, and we're going to go out there and destroy it. We are going to shoot it until it fails. We're going to find out where it fails and probably do that a number of times to fully test it. Connors has built a reputation around magazines and magazines extensions. We're not going to go and spoil that with our own magazine. So yes, that's maybe just a quick rundown of that. As soon as the order is in with the injection molders, we will be opening these for pre-orders. We're doing that for 2 reasons. One, it's been an expensive development process, and also we don't know what the reaction is going to be. We have a rough idea of what we need to order in the first batch, but what we don't want is for people to want them to, and be out of stock, because then we're just as bad as Smith & Wesson for that. So we will be opening them up for pre-order, and that will give us the opportunity to increase quantities for the first order to make sure that they don't go out of stock. So it's, yeah, there've been a lot of interest in that over Facebook over the past few days. And of course shown off at the Target Shooting Show. Was there anything else from the Target Shooting Show? I mean, loads of brands. I don't want to say, oh yeah, no, fuck the rest of them. They were all boring. There's some incredible stuff on display that I managed to have quick passing glances at. But yeah, I think I've covered all of the potential highlights of it. Yeah, that's the end of the video there. But I enjoyed the show, being an exhibitor on the Magload stand. Enjoyed seeing a lot of you guys that stopped by and chatted. But yeah, it's one of these things. So many people go, oh, you work full time in the gun trade, you must shoot loads. And for somebody without a firearm certificate, I do shoot a hell of a lot. But I used to love going to shooting shows to walk around and make videos and see all the new stuff, and it's like the more I get into this industry, the less I actually get to go in and do, and it's a bit of a double-edged sword in that regard, but not regretting it in the slightest. Oh yes, I posted this on Facebook, a bit of a funny one. How do you make me want to buy a Tesla? Simple solution. You put miniguns in it. I don't know if any of you saw this it's the Black Rifle Coffee Company. Yeah, they actually fitted 2 miniguns to a Tesla Model X. Yeah, if only we could do something similar in the UK. Maybe the GT4 would look good with like a bonnet front mounted minigun. That would be pretty cool. I wouldn't want to know what the sort of repair bill on that would be. And of course, it's advertising. They've got to get their own brand in there. But yeah, I thought I'd show you guys that, because I shared it on the Facebook page, and yeah, I sort of want one now. I don't know if that comes as a factory option. Maybe I could just go for one and reduce costs slightly. What are you guys talking about? What kind of AR can you get to put a CMMG 22 conversion kit in? Any. So a lot of the AR builds in the UK are full 223 rifles, right? So Cotswold Classic Arms, can't recommend Otto enough for the battle arms. The battle arms upper receiver set is a full 223 full bore upper and lower. It comes into the UK as component parts. It is not therefore a section 5. It hasn't been made into a semi or full auto 223, and it's built from the ground up with a CMMG 22 conversion kit, and then it's a 22 semi-automatic long 22 semi-automatic AR rifle. So you can do it, battle arms, aero precision. There's loads of aero precisions. Again, Otto at Cotswold Classic Arms is a big fan of the aero. His L119 build uses an aero precision receiver set and then a CMMG conversion kit. The Lantax use the CMMG conversion kits. They do make significant modifications and tunes to it, as does Otto. I believe even the Siscar, although the Siscar is meant to be the straight pull, but Caliber Innovations will build you a 2.2 semi-auto Siscar. I don't know what upper and lowers they're using at the moment, but again, they're full 223 ARs that they import in, they build up, they put the conversion kit in, and then send out. Wayne at Northwest Custom Parts, he's actually building his own 2.2 semi-autos using, I believe it's the CMMG conversion kits, but also buys in the Spikes Tactical. So you can buy a Spikes Tactical rifle from him. Again, in a different country, you could put a 223 barrel in there. Actually, there's a lot of 2.2 builds that do use 223 barrels. Obviously, it's better to have a dedicated 2.2, but for all intents and purposes, if you took the kit out, and this is the main difference, is they don't have the gas tube, right? Because even in the 223 legal version of that rifle, it's a straight pull. You're manually moving the bolt, so you don't need that gas tube. In theory, you could take a straight pull 223 or a 2.2, remove that CMMG conversion kit, put a gas block on it, put the gas tube in, and it's a 223 semi-auto. The really funny thing in terms of the law in the UK around that is that it's not actually illegal to, first of all, it's not illegal to have the 2.2 semi-auto with the CMMG conversion kit. It's also not illegal to own a gas block and the gas kit. I am not in any way suggesting or condoning anyone does that, because there's also another thing in law, which is intent. Whilst it may not be against the law to do that, if the police can prove intent for you to fit that and turn it into effectively a Section 5 rifle, you're going to go to prison for a very long time. So, but it's one of these things, it's like, but why not just let firearm certificate holders be able to own a full bore semi-auto 223? Because it's like they can legally buy effectively all of the gun. They can legally buy all the parts to convert it to Section 5. But it's literally your trust of them for them not to do it. If they were going, if they were going to go and break the law, they could quite easily go and do so. So you might, if you're trusting them not to do it, you might as well just trust them to have it. English shooting, the UK has red flag laws to the extreme absurdity. Yeah, it's not even red flag laws. Like you don't even need to have a red flag. We will move along. Filling in my FAC now. It asks for the details of my referee. It says nothing about Form 125, and Form 125 is not in the application form. Do you have to do this separately, or is that an old thing? So it depends. If you're, so it's like Hampshire, everything's online now. You can just go through the online application and put in all of the details there. You may need, personally, I would just contact them. If you're filling out a paper form, there will most likely be a separate paper form for your referee's details. You should be able to find that on your firearms licensing, your local firearms licensing department's website. but I would drop them an email or give them a call and get hold of it. There's been so many stories of people finding other counties' firearms licensing forms, filling them out, and it's the same information, but because it's in a slightly different format, because it's got a different bloody header on it, it's like, no, we can't accept that. It's like, but there's still all the details. No, we can't accept that. Again, the more like trying to prevent people from getting a license rather than helping them. But yeah, if you can do it online, do it online. It's much easier. But if you are filling in the physical paper form, I would talk to them and try and get hold of the exact form that you need. Aero Precision is great for everything except their bolt carriers. Well, I wouldn't know anything about a 223 bolt carrier group, although we do use them obviously for the straight pulls. But yeah, using it for a 2.2 build, obviously you're going to be using the CMMG conversion kit anyway. So you don't need to get their bolt carriers, but good to know. Range 23, thanks for joining by. Great to see you at the Target shooting show. I will get those followers out, I promise. It's just getting very busy. The busyness hasn't yet stopped. Interesting analogy there, Kahi. Just like owning a cannabis seed is legal until you put them inside dirt. At what point does it become illegal? Because if you put it in the dirt, it's still a cannabis seed. It's just in soil. I think it's once it starts sprouting, that's probably the illegal part. You thought non-furniture accessories, pressure-bearing firearm parts were controlled. What are you talking about there? So in the UK, yes, any pressure-bearing part is controlled. So that's your upper. Well, it's most definitely your upper, your barrel, and your bolt. That can extend to the lower as well. Just sort of, I mean, I think it's on the 1522, the serial number is on the lower. So that's, in essence, a controlled part. Technically, the lower isn't pressure bearing. So you start to get into the minuteries and the grey areas of the law with that. Ultimately, again, it would come down to intent. But yeah, barrels, uppers, it's basically the receiver, the part of the gun that the barrel screws into, the barrel and the bolt. That is what you're going to be looking at at the main controlled parts here in the UK. Everything else is uncontrolled. We don't have any controls on magazines, any bolt-on accessories, be that muzzle brakes. Muzzle brakes aren't controlled. Handguards, stocks, grips, safeties, triggers, things like that, they can all be sent quite freely in the post. Even like trigger units on like the Benelli Supernova, they can be posted to and from, no problem at all. So yeah, it can be a bit of a nightmare keeping track of what you can and can't ship. The guidance states that social media checks shouldn't be done as a matter of routine, only if something comes up. But what do you mean comes up? Like, how do they check if something's come up without checking social media? Again, it's not very clear. It's not very helpful. It's like, well, we don't have to do it as a matter of routine, but if something comes up, then we do need to do it as a matter of routine. But like, what do they have? Like a crystal ball? Oh, there's something going on social media. Oh, okay, I'll look on their social media. Like, they have to check it. Super Taz 100. Thank you very much. Much appreciate that. Any support for the channel is appreciative and appreciated. And on that note, I'm not actually wearing it for once. Although I think you can buy. Do I have them on the site? No, I just got the English Shooting. If you do want to help out the channel and get something out of it, you can head over to EnglishShooting.org. I'll put it in the chat box. We've got patches, we've got stickers, we've got more patches, we've got Connor's face. Apparently, if you rub it before a stage or a match, it will give you extra luck and performance, both at the range and in the bed. That his words, not mine. We've got some Magload stickers, obviously the English Shooting Flex Fit baseball cap, more Magload stickers. Oh yes, you can buy the Magload baseball cap from there. We also do have a flex fit version, which I should also put on here. So yeah, if you want to get yourself some swag and help out the channel and support it and keep us reaching new people, introducing new people to this sport, EnglishShooting.org. I'll put a little link. I always forget to do this. Anyway, there we go. I also have it's EnglishShooting, my URL. Good one, YouTube. Anyway, I do have some ideas for, like, whilst I like getting like little patches made of stickers, I do want to sort of venture off and maybe do some other designs. And I think I came up with a good one the other day. So watch this space. Is there anything from the average gun owner in the UK from, I guess you like, is there anything stopping the average gun owner in the UK from stockpiling large amounts of ammo? Stopping, you corrected it there. Okay, so Happy, yes, we do have ammunition limits. Does that actually physically stop you from stockpiling? This is just one of the areas that I think if we wanted, with all these forces, you know, stopping new applications, with all these forces saying they don't have enough resource, they don't have the money, they don't have the time and all this, why not streamline the fat? Why not cut the fat off? Because ammunition limits don't actually do anything, right? Yes, if you're caught with more ammunition than you're allowed, they take away your license, right? But if you are planning something horrendous, right, it doesn't physically stop you. You know, let's say you have a limit of 500 rounds of 223, right? And, you know, you go to the range and you shoot your 2.2, right? Prime example, let's say you go down to Bisley and you're going to go and shoot your 2.2 for a bit of practice, and then you pop into Fulton's and you buy your full 500 rounds of ammunition, right? Well, you haven't shot any 223 because you've been shooting your 2.2, and then you go home, and then the next week you go and shoot your 2.2. You go to Fulton's, you buy 500 rounds of 223. Now, they're going to look at it and go, oh, you were here a week ago and you bought 500 rounds. And you're going to go, yeah, that was a week ago. They're going to go, huh, here's your 500 rounds. And you do that every single week, right? Unless the police are going to start kicking in at random, don't give them any ideas. Unless they're going to start routinely checking people's homes, and I don't mean they're safe, because if you were going to do that, you would have to be an absolute fuckwit to keep it in your safe. Like, how are they ever going to know? And again, I do not condone doing this. Like, stick within the letter of the law, stick to what your certificate says. The point, the thought exercise is that actually it presents no barriers. What it stops is somebody very, very quickly obtaining a large amount of ammunition. Because if you go into Fulton's and say, I want to buy 5,000 rounds and your limit is 500, and they look at your ticket, they're going to go, no, we're only going to sell you 500, right? So that stops you immediately breaking that limit. It's sort of a little barrier in one instance. Even if you know, if you go there in the morning and come back in the afternoon, that might start to ask questions. You know, if you go and buy 500 rounds one day, 500 rounds the next day, and the next day, and the next day, because it's all on your certificate. So they are going to see, oh, hang on a minute, like, okay, yeah, it's pretty plausible to go and shoot 500 rounds in a day, but this is odd behaviour. And that's when the RFD, the shop, may then report you to your, well, let's say report you, they may ask questions of your licensing department and say, I think you should probably go around and have a chat with this guy, because he seems to be buying more ammunition than would usually be shot. So, but again, if you space it out, there's nothing to stop. All right, and I'm not going to name any names, but I don't have enough fingers and toes of certificate holders that have said, I've ended up, you know, well, the most common example is going to the range, right? So you it's both your buy and store limit. But let's say you've got, you know, again, 500 rounds of 223 in your safe. sorry, you've got a limit of 500 rounds. Let's say you've got 400 rounds in your safe, but you forget to take that to the range, and you buy 200 rounds of ammunition. You are technically in ownership of over your allowance. Now, there are certain, let's say, exemptions. So down a club, if you do that and obviously shoot it all and it's under the club, you're buying it through the club exemption, you're buying it through being a member of a Home Office approved club, then technically you're not breaking your own limits, because as a full member of Home Office approved club, you can buy as much ammunition for the pursuit of that club, for the pursuit of activities for that club, as much as you like, as long as you then don't leave the range with it. But yeah, in essence, you can very easily, if you know, oh, I'm not going to lug that 400-500 rounds I've got in the safe, but you go and buy it and sign it on your ticket, technically you've already broken your limit. And I know a fair few shooters that have done that, because the intent is not to stockpile ammunition. They haven't gone back home, they haven't left the range with more ammunition than what they are allowed to. But in terms of the exact letter of the law, without using the club exemption, that they are breaking their limit. But again, it's the police. I don't even think the firearms departments, firearms licensing departments, and FEOs would even care about that situation, because it's about intent. But once again, it doesn't actually stop you from stockpiling ammunition. The other one that I've said for years that they should just remove is moderators, right? Why do we have moderators, suppressors, silencers, whatever you want to call them? Why do we have them on ticket, right? They're not very dangerous on their own, right? It's like, what are you going to do with a silencer? You know, we might as well license baseball bats, right? Because that's all it is. On its own, it's just a club or you know, some sort of shot put. I don't know. The bit that makes the silencer or suppressor or moderator potentially dangerous in the wrong hands, and again, it doesn't make it any more or less dangerous, is with the gun, which we obviously already certificate, we already license, we already control here. The real absurdity of it all is that, you know, the example of the 2.2. All right, the 2.2 moderator. You get a lot of 2.2 moderators that are also airgun moderators. You don't need a certificate or a license to own an airgun moderator. So you can go and buy a 2.2 airgun moderator and keep it, right? No license required. But as soon as you put it anywhere near a firearm, a Section 1 firearm, as soon as you sign it onto a firearm certificate, suddenly you've got to keep it in a safe. Right, it suddenly becomes a firearm. Removing things like that, which I don't think I've ever heard of a case in the UK of a criminal using a suppressor or a moderator for crime. Right, it just doesn't happen. It's one of these things that does it, and does it really care? Do we really care if they are using suppressors? Right, it's the fact that they're running around with a loaded gun. That's the bit that we should be focusing on. So these are things that I've said for a very long time. It would streamline the process. It would bring down the work level, because you've got to do a bloody variation. You know, if let's say you sell a moderator and you want to buy a different one, right? Well, you've got to do a 1-for-1 variation. That's another talk with your FEO. That's another bit of paperwork. That's more time, more admin. If you want to add more moderators to your certificate, again, more variations, you know. So it just seems to, for no perceived benefit, adds a lot more time and hassle and admin to the whole process. Is there a restriction on hand loading out there, or restrictions on components? There are restrictions on components. No restrictions on hand loading, as long as you stay within your limits. I don't know the exact. It's like assembled round, but it's not a full. There's a point at which the component parts are deemed as part of your limit, but I don't think there's a limit on like how many heads you can have. There's certainly no limit. Like cases are not in any way restricted. I don't think don't think primers. I think you need a certificate to be able to buy primers. No, you don't, because you can buy primers for where is it? For these things. Yes, since moving to the new unit, it's far less appropriate to be using these sort of things. But you can go and buy primers for these, right? You can buy blanks, which is primer and powder. Powder. So yeah, I don't think most gun shops will ask for your certificate, but maybe the powder. No, if you buy raw powder, you need a certificate. But yeah, I don't think the primers and cases and heads are in any way restricted. I think it's just the powder, but it's when you start assembling them and there's a certain point. I think it's primed cases. Primed cases are what start to add to your. I don't know. I don't hand load it. I've never actually made a round of ammunition, but I'm sure there's going to be. It's primed. People are saying primed, but no limit on. So you could have as many primers as you want. Again, this is like, why do we have ammunition limits? You can have as many primers as you want. You can have many cases, and you can have as many bullet heads. You're limited. The only limit on powder is, I think it's either 5 or 10 kilos until you need an explosive certificate, which if you have a firearm or shotgun certificate, getting an explosive certificate, it's more about the storage of it rather than your own suitability. Pretty sure primers must be in an ammo safe. Yeah, so I'm not talking about the storage, but I'm not talking about the specific storage of it, but as long as you've got a big enough safe, you could buy as many primers as you want. So yeah, you can buy a reloading machine, you can buy as many primers, cases and heads and much powder, storage limits, safety storage limits aside, as you want, right? But then if you want to go and buy 2,000 rounds over your limit on your, it's like you could have 100,000 rounds worth of components and only have 100 round limit on your certificate. Up to explosive limits, which is easy to hit if you have powder and a few slabs of 12 gauge. We 2 kg of black powder. Is that all the other powders as well, or is that just black powder? What is it? Is it Pyrex? It's like modern powder. In Germany, there's an exemption where matchlock and flintlock guns are completely unrestricted. You do need a license for the powder. Got anything like that in the UK? We do. We have obsolete caliber. So I think as well, some flintlocks and historical guns would be included in this. But yeah, we have obsolete caliber. If it is deemed that you cannot get hold of that caliber anymore, then you can't shoot the gun. So therefore, you can own effectively a viable gun. You just can't have the ammunition for it. You can't go and shoot it. If you do, then you need to go and put that on to the relevant certificate. Once a round is complete, it is part of your limit. So you could literally have primed cases full of powder sat there, and all you have to do is press ahead, and then that's it. Again, I don't like in the UK example. I'm all for our certification process, right? I think where we are now, I think it is the best route forward. I think removing it will be very different. I have a completely different view when it comes to the US and Second Amendment and firearms ownership out there. But in the UK, certification, I think, is the way forward. And there's a lot of laws that I generally do support. I do feel are quite reasonable. The ammunition limits, moderators and all that, I don't know what it achieves. I really, really don't. Primers are not ammunition, no storage requirement. Unless you have so many, you hit the explosive storage requirements. I would not risk primed cases. No, I'm not saying it's a good thing to do. We're talking in theory here, right? So we actually found out about the explosives certificate and limits most recently when we were getting the new unit with Magload. Part of the insurance and getting the approval with the landlord was how was the storage of firearms and ammunition on the premises, which luckily they're a shooting family. They do a lot of game shooting, so they're not anti-gun. The landlord, it's actually a pension fund, but the people that own the company that hold the pension fund, they're all a big shooting family, so they weren't particularly phased by it. And funnily enough, the solicitor on their side, the solicitor for our landlord, part-time runs a gun shop with her dad, so she was really clued up on everything. And like, for insurance purposes, we had to declare what we planned on storing, what ammunition we planned on storing, and I think we were like, right, it's going to be X amount, 1,000 cartridges, and it's going to be 100 or 1,000 2.2 and 2.23 and whatever. And she like instantly came back and she said, okay, so you have an explosive certificate, and you're going to have this approved by. And we were like, what? It's like, right, I knew it as soon as she said it. I was like, we've been fuckwits here. And we actually built up a calculator. So if you need to know how many on average, how many shotgun cartridges, or what, 2.2, 2.23 rounds, all of this, we actually have a calculator that we use to be able to give the exact numbers. And we ended up saying, like, look, for the short term, we don't need to store that much ammunition, but long term we're going to need to. So can we kick this down the road? Can we just say yes for now, up to the explosives limit, and then once we need to go over that, then we will get the relevant license and approval. Again, not something that I'm hugely clued up on in the UK, because I buy my ammunition, right? I've never hand loaded. It's something that I've always said I would like to learn more about, be more knowledgeable about, and understand more. But in terms of the ins and outs, that's not my bag. I can tell you in high detail the process of a revocation, though. In theory, you could own a flamethrower in the UK, I think. No. Even if it doesn't come under firearms law, it would be deemed an offensive weapon. So the same as like knuckle dusters, ninja stars, zombie knives, stuff like that. Most FLDs would like sound moderators come off licensing, as it's pointless. Home Office again. Happy, did you see Hampshire say that they are only accepting new vocational applications? Right. Where did you see such statement? It's like we've gone back to COVID without COVID, right? It depends on how you want to take the wording of it. I mean, they're still blaming COVID. Like, any excuse, right? Like, any excuse. So this is what it currently says on the Hampshire Firearms Licensing website. We are working hard to clear a significant backlog of application. Well, maybe if you hadn't shut down, you wouldn't have the backlog, caused by reduced service during COVID lockdowns. We're prioritising renewal applications, so grant applications are taking longer than usual. We will be in touch as soon as we can deal with your case. Please only submit an application including if you would like to vary a firearm certificate if it is essential to your occupation or vocation. So it's like, again, it depends how you want to take the wording of that. Like, it's requesting that you don't, please only. Like, is that a request or a statement? Well, knowing Hampshire, it's a statement, but yeah, it's just not good at the moment, is it? It really bloody isn't. North Yorkshire, you know, outright saying that they're not like, at least they're doing vocational. You can't, you know, that's what I was saying was one of the big issues in terms of, you know, professionals being hindered, you know, people losing income and livelihood and stuff like that. So, but it's just like this is it, right? This is the backdoor ban, isn't it? Right? I mean, not like they have any, you know, they're pretty successful in getting the guns they want gone. They weren't successful in 50 BMG, but like that, this is the backdoor ban, isn't it? Right? They're still blaming COVID. It's like, really, like I used to work with somebody who I managed to convince to get their certificates. I was like, they'd come shooting a few times, loved it. I was like, look, you're going to get an application, join KFC or this. And the FEO, like they like, between applying and the certificates landing on the door, which I think was only a month or two, they had never met their FEO, right? Their FEO had never come to their house. They hadn't inspected the safe, right? They'd only spoke on the phone or via email. Like, if and this was like 4 or 5 years ago, if they were able to do that then, why couldn't they do that over COVID? Right? Why couldn't they FaceTime? Why couldn't they what's the one that went absolutely mental over COVID? You know, the like Skype, like, oh God, what's it called? The one that the Chinese obviously like hack into and can see everything. Anyway, I'm sure you guys will educate me or remind me in a second. But yeah, like Zoom, that's it. Thank you, Happy. Like, why couldn't they Zoom it? Like, why do you, like, I know the whole thing of going to somebody's house and getting a feel for them and, you know, looking in what environment they live and you know, what they have in their home and the state of the home and stuff like that. That gives a very good judge of character to some extent. And they need to swing on the safe to make sure it's properly bolted. But that can be done remotely, right? You can show them, look, this is a safe, this is where it's bolted in, you know, and you know, you can tell if someone's faking force, right? So why couldn't they have been done remotely? Why do they need to be sat face by face, especially while previously they were giving out certificates without even meeting people face to face, just through phone and email? It just seems like no, we can't do it, you know. And yeah, lockdown, you know, yeah, work from home and all of that. Work from home, unless it is absolutely essential. Well, if it is essential for you to visit people face to face to process application, then you carry on doing your job, right? And all of these forces that did shut down, it'd be interesting. I'll try and find the there was a chart that Basque had. It'd be interesting to see if North Yorkshire was one of the counties that shut down. Because if they did shut down for 6 months, that's plenty of admin time to get ready for the new guidance, isn't it? Like, absolutely no fucking excuse. If they did shut down and they were twiddling their thumbs for 6 months, not processing applications, not doing renewals, all this sort of stuff, although I think most were still doing renewals, but anyway, you know, they had the whole admin team. Why weren't they spending that time over Zoom from home? It was just like one big bloody holiday for it. And the silver lining for all of these anti-gun firearms licensing departments is that they don't have to give certificates, right? Not only do they get to sit up with their feet up, they're not giving out gun certificates. And it's like, I'm sorry, you know, we came out of lockdown. When did we come out of lockdown? It was a while ago, right? So the backlog. It just, to me, just feels like an absolute absolute excuse. Like, that is just, it couldn't have come at a better time for them. Combined with Plymouth, combined with this new guidance, it's just like, that's it. That's the backdoor ban. They're just going to hide behind it, come up with every excuse. We're underfunded, under-resourced. You know, well, manage yourself better, right? Other counties manage it, right? This again, it's the disparity. You know, maybe if they had people that actually knew firearms law or firearms guidance running these departments, they would know the process. They would know how to more efficiently implement them. Daniel Gwent told me that they will be doing a Zoom call for inspections for the foreseeable future. I moved house in Feb and I still waiting for your inspection. Jesus. So again, they can do Zoom, right? But also this, like, it just doesn't make sense. It really doesn't make sense. Doing Zoom calls is quicker, right? Because let's say it's an hour per appointment. I've never actually timed how long an FEO comes round for, but let's say it's around an hour. For a face-to-face, they're going to have to budget in probably, what, half an hour potentially to get across a county for an interview. So a 1 hour face-to-face is actually going to take up 2, maybe even 3 hours of time of that FEO. So if you're Zoom calling, where you can instantly switch between, you know, applicants, in that 2 or 3 hours of one face-to-face, they should be able to do 2 or 3 Zoom interviews, right? So, like, obviously it can be done because Daniel, you're saying that they are doing them. So there's no excuse for any other county. That's what they should be doing. And in theory, a Zoom call is going to be incredibly more. It's going to be cheaper because you're not paying expenses. It's going to be more efficient. You're going to get more done. You should be clearing off that backlog if you're doing Zoom calls. Again, it just sounds like excuses. They don't want to be giving certificates to people, and they're just hiding behind all of these things of why not to do it. And it's just the perfect storm at the moment. Some forces have gone to straightforward renewals by phone, 10-minute call. Again, like, it's not looking good. Some positive news though. This will probably make very little difference to a lot of you watching, but it is big news, and it is big news for shooting as a whole. So the IPSC, the International Practical Shooting Confederation, has been approved as a full member of the GAISF. So I've talked previously about it receiving observer status. It is now a full member, so it has passed all the criteria and is now a full member of this GAISF. I don't actually know what that stands for, but you need to be a member of that to become an Olympic sport. So it's actually now one step closer again to becoming an Olympic sport. Obviously amazing for practical shooting, right? First, it's in itself becoming a member of this organization or this group. Let me just GISFF. Global Association of International Sports Federations is an umbrella organization for all international sports federations, as well as organizers of multi-sports games and sports-related international associations. But I believe it is the precursor. Like, I think I'm right in saying that to be an Olympic sport, you need to be a member of this. So that is one step further. It actually gives a lot of credibility. It actually gives a lot of kudos to the sport of practical shooting, because it shows, you know, this isn't just like some amateur sport. This is being recognized by the same people that, you know, they will recognize canoeing and you know, tennis and loads of sports, like all, you know, all the main sports that people know about, and it just brings practical shooting up there. Why is that important? I think beneficial for the entirety of shooting sports, because it's potentially another shooting sport in the Olympics, right? That can't be a bad thing. And whilst I don't necessarily want to poo-poo on other disciplines, I mean, you know, let's be honest, clay shooting in the Olympics, oh, like, it's not particularly enthusing, is it? It's not particularly engaging. I mean, I have a lot of appreciation and certainly a lot of respect for the athletes that do it, and the discipline and skill that is required to hit those targets repeatedly. But also, like, again, I'm not poo-pooing. I sort of am, but anyway, like, target sports in the Olympic, it's not a cool look. Like, can we, like, let's just be honest, like, again, fair play, there is no bloody way that I could shoot that consistently, that accurately, that many times. I also wouldn't want to. I also wouldn't want to strap myself up into a bungee suit. Like, I don't think that's a good look for me. It's not a good look for anyone. And it's sort of like, that is one of the biggest exposures to shooting sports as a whole. Like, better than nothing, really. But I don't think it makes it particularly appealing or attractive or dynamic, right? Practical shooting, and I might be a little bit biased here, the amount of people that see practical shooting and go, I want to do that, right? Like, that looks cool. And it does bring in a lot of new blood. And I think if practical shooting long term gets into the Olympics, it's going, all the people that sort of go, oh yeah, I did clay pigeon shooting at Stag Do once there, that was cool. Or, bloody hell, what are they wearing? You know, what are they even doing? It's like 100 shots at what? Like, no, flick. Horse riding. There we go. That's more dynamic. Like, they're going to see practical shooting and they're going to go, you know, it's like BMXing, right? You look at BMXing, it just looks fun. And more people are going to want to do it. More people are going to want to get involved. And I think ultimately helps shooting sports longer term. So hopefully practical shooting will become an Olympic sport. Might finally be able to get a gold medal. But yeah, shooting sports in the Olympics looks very meh. Sort of like Bisley on any given day, really. Anyway, Andy, all other shooting disciplines that are held within the Olympic arena are boring to watch. Yeah, and that's it. It doesn't sell the sport. It doesn't make people want to get off their arse and go and try it, which is what we as a community need to be doing more of. We need to get more people into this sport taking part. Are you implying some kind of conspiracy to prevent gun certificate ownership rather than simply a backlog? Who do you think has that kind of power to control all the different counties, FEOs? No. I am not a conspiracy theorist. I'm not saying that is what is going on. What I think ultimately is going on is the wrong people are running the departments. From my experience, firearms licensing departments are like a pre-retirement plan. It's like it's always long-serving police officers seeing out the rest of their days in the police force in some capacity, buffering up their pension. So, like, a nice cushy little comfortable number before they retire for good. And I've seen that time and time again. Also, with them coming from long police backgrounds, a lot of the time, the view of firearms is very, regardless of coming from a police background, anybody that isn't a shooter, anybody that hasn't been or is a certificate holder, usually has a negative view of guns, right? So you like sort of the law of averages would suggest that you're going to end up with somebody that doesn't like guns, and we've seen this outright. You know, this isn't a conspiracy theory. There are anti-gun heads of firearm licensing department, people that, you know, it's not even questionable. They do not like firearms. That is a conflict, right? I'm obviously them being pro-gun and yeah, give guns to everyone. That's sort of a conflict as well. They need to be neutral, and I think unfortunately what's happening is, you know, either unqualified civil servants or retiring police officers are controlling too many of the, or they're getting into a position of power within the firearms licensing. They don't actually care about the sport of shooting, or they don't care about firearms ownership in general. They don't care about the firearms law. They don't care about the guidance. They don't have an interest in it. It is literally an admin job for them for whatever reason. And they're not giving it the time and detail that it requires. So, you know, and if they are anti-gun and they also want a bit of a cushy number, when opportunities like COVID, when opportunities like blaming changes of guidance comes in, when there's mass shooting, it is far too easy for them to then use that as an excuse. Actually, I don't really want to be giving out licenses, and actually, I don't really want to be in the office. So, you know, this happens in all industries, right? You know, if you get lazy people, they're going to take advantage of having a break. So I don't think it's some massive conspiracy. Like, trust me, our government and police are not organised enough for that. I think it is just the wrong people in charge taking advantage of opportunity, which is certainly at the moment with what's going on, is having a very negative effect on the sport being able to grow and firearms ownership, you know, lawful, sensible, responsible firearms ownership from growing. And I think there's a lot of people taking great pleasure in that. Not even people that are indifferent to it, which is bad enough, right? Indifference suggest, well, it's, you know, they don't care. They should very much care. As Bask is saying, they have a duty. This is part of their duty, part of their job. They should care considerably that they are not doing their job. But it's not even the indifference. There are people actively looking within our firearms licensing departments, and those that have previously been in our firearms licensing departments, that are actively looking for opportunities to reduce the amount of firearms in public hands, to reduce the amount of certificates, and to grasp any opportunity that slows down or even stops the granting of certificate and processing of applications. And that is ultimately what is the biggest threat to our sport at the moment, and to firearms ownership in the UK at the moment. And just like the case we were talking about earlier, who do you go to, right? The police complaints, the independent complaints organisations, department, whatever, they won't go near the firearms licensing department. The chief of police, they why are they going to care, right? You know, especially at the moment, especially after Plymouth, you know, I probably wouldn't. I would just, let's play it safe and not give anyone guns at the moment, right? Because I don't want to be the next chief of police on TV, right? They just end up being a law to themselves. Remember as well, they're not police officers; they're civil service. They're civil servants. So that creates murkiness, and it's almost becoming like they're. You know, where do you go to? How do you stop them? And again, talking to other sort of legal professionals, in their experience, if you complain, if you stand up for yourself, they just take it out on you, right? They put your application at the bottom. They will look for any minuscule reason not to give you a license. I should know. But yeah, anyway. There is no formal training for FLD roles. It's on-the-job training. This is a major problem. Nail head. That is, you know, what you need. I'm going to put this away before I drop it and scare the shit out of my fiance. That is like one of the. There is no guidance for what an like. There's guidance of what they have to look for and what they have to do, but yeah, there's no formal training, right? There's no barrier for experience to become an FEO or to become the head of a firearms department. Like, I know it could, you know, obviously we would want it to bias the other way, but I genuinely think the best thing for it is for firearms license, FEO and heads of firearms licensing departments to be shooters, to be able to demonstrate some level, or to have owned firearms or own firearms, and to demonstrate some level of knowledge of shooting sports, or hunting, or stalking, or whatever. I think that should be like prerequisite number one, because if they themselves have gone through the process and been able to get a certificate, firstly, tick for suitability, right? Like this is, I know it's the police, and I know, you know, but they are, again, they're civil service. They're not police officers. They're not held to the same standard as a police officer, right? This is a weird sort of paradox. Whereas the person making the judgment of an applicant could, in theory, be less suitable to hold a certificate themselves than the person they're giving the certificate to. Like, you want to make sure that FEOs are, you know, straight and suitable, level-headed, upstanding members of the public that are going to do things to a T. Make them go through the process of getting a shotgun or firearm certificate, right? They're going to understand the process, you know, and I'm sure they go through these checks anyway. But from my experience, there's certainly a number of FEOs that definitely should not be in any position of power. But they're going to understand the process. They're also, having been on it from the other side, they're going to be a lot more sympathetic to it. It's also going to make them a lot, you know, if you can understand it. This is the thing, is most certificate holders can run rings around their FEO, right? Because they don't know what they're talking about. So if they actually go through the process themselves and they become part of the community, they'll be able to sniff out bullshit better. Like, is that not a good thing? Well, like, obviously people going, no, definitely not. You know, I like being able to bullshit my FEO, but in terms of them being more fit for purpose, is that not a good thing? We need a single entry like the DVLA for firearms, one standard applied properly rather than 20 plus applied at discretion. Yes. Again, nail and head. Like, that's what people have been calling for a very long time. A centralized firearms licensing department working from the same, well, they're all working from the same guidance. They're just all fucking interpreting it differently. You know, the same interpretation. And this is one of the things, it's like, right, if we're all going to agree that this is the interpretation, then that's the interpretation. We can work to that, but you move counties, or you even between different FEOs. Well, I interpret it this way. Well, I interpret it that way. Like somebody I was talking to the other day, I think at the show, their FEO has put in writing that they're allowed to lend their Section 1 shotgun. Like, no, you're not. No, there is no exemption for it in law, right? Only the certificate holder can shoot that gun. But the FEO doesn't know what they're talking about, and they've given them permission. Now, it's all well and good if it goes to court. Like, yes, they can show that email, and that should, for any sensible judge, they should go, well, yeah, you were advised wrong. It doesn't help cover your costs, though, does it? You know, it doesn't help cover the stress of, you know, being accused and arrested of breaking the law, and, you know, and so yes, a centralized, organized, efficient, you know, the DVLA, a lot of people, like, I've never had a bad experience with the DVLA. It's actually one of the more, in my experience, more efficient departments. Guidance is crap. Yes, completely agree. Digital FAC would be best option, like DVLA license would be easy to do too. The technology is there, 100%. It should be like, again, this other video on Field Sports channel, the RFD was saying, like, look, like, you're trusting us to be gun dealers, right? Why not pass more of the work to us? Right? Why not allow us to be able to do 1-for-1s or variations or things like that? Again, people that live, breathe, sleep firearms, let them vet the people. You go into a gun shop and start trying to blag why you need a 338 Lepure. Well, why do you need one? Yes, for this target sport that I've just made up. Those are going to be the people far better at, and most gun shop owners and most people that work in a gun shop are going to know the certificate holders far better than the FEOs. They're going to have far more face-to-face transactions with them and experiences with them. Any good counties you've heard of? West Mercer. Someone was saying, I think it was West Mercer. They were saying they were particularly good. Like Midlands. Midlands seems to be fairly good on the whole. Surrey has always been a good county as long as I've been in shooting. That's mainly down to the fact, case in point, that the head, I think he's still the head. The head of Surrey Firearms is an avid shooter, and he's got one of the best counties in the country. For me, it seems no one knows what the hell the law is, or even know the basic firearms law or use. My court case proved the judge, and even my specialist firearms Basque lawyer knew feckle. Mad. You had a variation done in 4 days and live in the West Mids. Yeah. So yeah, I hear very good things about those. Yeah, it's just madness out there. Anyway, don't forget to hit the like button. I haven't said that for like a good hour now. Hit the like button. It does help. It does help reach more people. We can, whilst basically anybody watching this video is going to go, fuck, getting into that. That seems like a whole load of aggro that I don't need. Please join the sport. Please put your application in and join it. It's fun. It's worth it. Like if it was this painful to do, it must be really fun to do, right? If you have to go through all this shit and aggro and politics, there must be something really nice at the end of it, right? Right? We're not just crazy people for putting up with all this shit for nothing, I hope. Anyway, I enjoy it. I don't even have licenses. I don't even own, well, I do technically own guns, but I'm not even allowed to be unsupervised with firearms, and yet I still do this. Like, that's how fun it is. Anyway, yeah, hit that like button, hit the subscribe button. I'm going to wrap it up there, but we're approaching the season of plentiful content, I promise. Now that the studio is pretty much sorted, we're getting, sorry, there is one more cherry. Black Friday. Pump. Yeah, let's finish it on Black Friday. So don't go, because this will be worth your while, I can assure you. Magload's been known, has grown reputations for its Black Friday, and this year we've done it even bigger and better. Very similar to previous years, but the discounts are even larger, and the deals are even better. The deals go live at 11 p.m. this evening. So if you've wanted to get any Magload stuff, wait until then. That will be the best time, and I'm just trying to find them, because I'm not going to be able to show you on the website because obviously they're not live yet. But I'm going to find the preview page for you. Or I'm not, because I have to sign into the verification. Give me 2 minutes. Fire up my emails. Okay, because I don't want to start quoting numbers and then you. Oh dear. No, don't go there, emails. Give me 2 secs. It's all going wrong. Definitely don't want to have a look at my emails. Definitely don't want to have a look at my emails. Right, so got to log into the back end. I love me a bit of back end login. Here we go. It'll be worth a while, I promise. Any Black Friday deals on gun cabinets? Not that I'm aware of, to be honest. Right. Where is... So, deal number 1. I don't think we did a 1522 deal last year. But we are this year. So if you have a 1522, this might be just worth hanging on for a sec. So preview. Again, this is all going live at 11 PM tonight on magload.co.uk, and this is it. You are getting an exclusive first peek at these. I hope you appreciate it. Connors is going to kill me. Anyway, so deal number 1 for any 1522 owners, it is going to be the complete kit, the full shebang, shaboodle, whatever you want to call it. That's a handguard and a full pro package for 250 quid. Putting that in perspective, a standard pro package is I think about 170 quid, which is already a pretty big discount, and the handguards start at about 150 quid. So I think with this you could save over 100 quid buying it all together. You get to pick what color you want, so you can pick it all. If you want to mix and match, this is what we tell people all the time. If you want like a pink magwell and a green base or whatever, leave it in the order notes. We'll sort you out. And this is for any handguard. So usually the handguard prices are tiered, with the 15-inch M-Lock being the most expensive, the 11-inch plain being the cheapest. Doesn't matter. Whichever handguard you want, plus the pro package, 250 quid. Which again is like up to I think it's like over 100 quid saving on that. Of course, we are known for our loader deals. So the Nexus Element. So the main headline deal is buy any Nexus Element 28 or 32 and get a free 8 or 12. You're saving, I think, up to about 80 quid with that. But you can also customize the deal. So you can buy a 20, a 24, a 28 or a 32. Choose if it's assembled. And then you get a discount still. So let's say you wanted a 24 and you wanted a 14. Put that all in there. You can put, say, no belts, not required. So yeah, with that deal, so buying a 24 and a 14, you're going to be saving you're going to be saving 70 quid. So deals on all the different configurations, deals on all the loaders. Like Nexus Element, as far as I'm aware, it is the cheapest spring adjustable quad loader. So if you've been thinking of getting into quad loading and buying a new rig, you're not going to find a full setup. So let's show you what it is. So we always recommend, people ask, what do we recommend for a rig? Ideally you want to be ideally you want to be having 40 on the belt, and we recommend splitting that between a 28 and a 12 loader. And I'm not just like, a lot of people go, of course you would recommend a 28 and a 12. Like, I came prepared. I'm very well polished at this because I spent 2 whole fucking days doing it. This is my loading rig. This is it. It's not. This is the belt. And to prove it, someone stole my fucking patch. Who the fuck stole my patch? Bastards! Yep. Well, that sort of puts out the window that, you know, shooters at a shooting show are trustworthy. Some bastard stole my patch. We'll have to get a replacement. Anyway. But it is. I was going to show you the English shooting patch, but I can't because some bastards nicked it. Yeah, this is the rig that I have. It's a 28 and a 12. Connors uses a 28 and a 12. Bill, if you met him at the show, uses a 28 and a 12. Paul, because he's a skinny little fuck bastard. I bet it was him that stole my patch as well. He can't fit a 28 and a 12 because he's like a pole. Like literally his belt is like that. He's almost maxing out the adjustment on the small. This isn't a problem for normal people. Certainly not myself. So he actually runs a 24 and a 12 just because he hasn't got enough meat on him. We're trying to fatten him up. So anyway, 28 and a 12 is the standard loadout. That's what we recommend to people. And for Black Friday, you can buy a full rig. So that's a 28 element, that's a 12 element, and let's just say a belt. Most people medium for 290 quid. If you've already got a belt, well, let's turn that off. 200 quid. So you can buy a 28 and a 12 loader for £200. Please somebody go and find me where else you can buy a spring adjustable 12 and 28 for 200 quid. And again, you want the full package, 290 quid. The final bundle is of course with the Pro. We can't leave out the Pro. A very similar again from last year. Let's go. You got the 12, the 28. Not required. No, 350 quid. So yeah, you're getting that free 12 with the 28, 350 quid. A lot of people ask about what the difference is between Pro and Element. The Pro is by far the better loader. It's also, as you can see, so the other deal, the Element deal was 200 quid for the 12 and 28. It's 150 quid more. That's still ridiculous that I'm saying that because usually it's a lot bigger difference, but with Black Friday it's 150 quid more. It's very hard to portray. Oh yes, we also have our Magload Pride loader. We will be, well, it's just we do custom colors, but you've got to get in contact. There is a weight and an additional charge for it, but personally I think black's the best overall. What is the difference apart from cost, right? The Element is based on the original Nexus. It's just been optimized for injection molding. That's part of why it's a lot cheaper, because the plastic parts the plastic parts on these are printed on about £250,000 worth of machinery, so they're not cheap to make. You've got bigger magnets on the Pro, smaller magnets obviously on the Element, and also the weight. I can't quite portray how the weight difference, but basically the 12 Element weighs pretty much as the same as a Nexus Pro 28. You're talking about, I think it's about 50% lighter than the Pro is 50% lighter than Element. Also size, the Pro is a lot more compact, and because the Element has been optimized for injection molding, and you don't have to optimize the design process for 3D printing as much, there's absolutely no compromise on the geometry. So the geometry is maximized for best retention and best consistent release. That's not to say that this is bad and your shell is going to fall over everywhere. It's just not as good a retention and not as consistent release. I mean, I am going to say it, but obviously I would say go for the Pro. The amount of people when we handed both of them at the show and they went, oh, you know, it's one of those things you've really got to feel. But the Element is there at a lower price point to entice, well, not to entice, but to give an option to to people that are on a budget. You know, it's a more cost effective loader. It's a more affordable loader, and it opens it up to a lot more people, and you know, we want everyone being able to do the sport, and we understand that, you know, usually outside of Black Friday, you're talking around like the £600 mark for a full loadout. Like, not everyone has that sort of money. So, you know, with Black Friday, you can pick up a full loadout rig with element for about half that price. So it makes it more affordable, gives you another option, and it pays the rent. But yeah, so we've got the Pro deal. You get a free 8 or 12 with any purchase of a 28 or a 32, and yet again, with just like with the Element, you can customize it and go for, you know, whatever you want, and you will get an equivalent discount. So that is it. So 250 quid for a handguard and full Pro package. It's the free 8 or 12 with a 28 or 32 on Element, or significant discounts on other combinations of loaders, and the same deal for Pro as well. That all goes live 11 p.m. Tonight. As just a small favor, please share it. If you see the posts, if you see the stuff, it really does help. At the end of the day, what I earn through Magload, what I'm paid through Magload, allows me to do this. I don't get paid to do English shooting. It costs in legal fees. In legal fees alone, I'm in a big negative, right? So even if you've got a rig, even if you're not interested in getting a rig, if you want to share it, like, please do. Really appreciate it. And yeah, that's enough plugging. I've got to pay the bill somehow, so I've got to get a plug there. I've got to get a plug in here and there. But yeah, there's Uber deals for Black Friday. There will be deals as well for Cyber Monday. We did this exactly the same. There will be no new deals on any of the Black Friday stuff. So anything that you buy Black Friday, we're not gonna on Monday go, oh yeah, you know, Element's £2.50, or you can buy, like, the stuff that has been released in the Black Friday deals. That isn't going to be reduced or included in any other discount or deals, but there will be further discounts on. There will be discounts on other products come Monday. So, but yeah, if you're looking for a load rig, you literally won't get one cheaper than the Magload Black Friday. But yeah, on that, I've just hoard myself out enough there. Thanks everyone for joining in. Oh wait, how are those loaders mounted? Velcro only or Molly? So they are all supplied with Velcro, pretty industrial Velcro at that. And I don't know if you can see, but on the back plate, if I get my fingers out of the way, you can see that semicircle just above the Magload. You can put a belt clip. So Techlock, Safari Land, or even the Magload Click, that all attaches there to do it. So you can put it on a 2-part IPSC belt, or you can put it on a Velcro belt. That's a satisfying sound. And on the 28s as well, can you see there's that little like 45-degree slot? You've got one on both sides, and that is also for putting belt clips on. So for a 20, 24, 28 and 32, you need 2 belt clips. That's either 2 Techlocks, 2 Safari Land mounts, or 2 Click. And if you're going Click, I would recommend going for a QRB plus QRS or QRB plus QRD. So you need 2 of those setups for 20, 24, 28 or 32. For an 8, 12 or 14, you just need 1. Does that answer it? But yeah, I'll pop down soon and get a couple off you. It's only for Black Friday. If you want the deals, I mean, if you want to come down in like a week's time, you're always welcome. you're always welcome to come down. But if you want to come and buy one in a couple of weeks' time, they won't be the price they're going to be over the weekend. So you're never going to financially recover from the sport. That's why I made it a business, right? That's why I was like, this is going to bankrupt me. Anyway, I am going to wrap it up there. Please, again, really appreciate if you share any of the Maglo posts about the Black Friday stuff, and really it's our like busiest period of the year. And it's always awesome to see the response. So yeah, any shares, likes, engagement on that would be much appreciated. Again, thank you everyone for tuning in this evening. I hope you've enjoyed it. It was a fairly busy one, and yes, with the Target Shooting Show and Black Friday out of the way now, it's going to be content, and I'll be pumping it out. I've got a backlog of videos that I've been wanting to do, and hopefully now I'll have the time to do it. So again, a big thank you to everyone as well that donated and supports the channel. EnglishShooting.org if you want to buy any merch, and keep an eye on that space because there's going to be some interesting stuff coming out on there. And of course, as always, guys, I hope to see you soon.